Hey guys, Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com, back again for another session of High Power University. And we're using BHSpringSolutions new modifications for high power pistols here at the midpoint of 2021 for this High Power University session. The specific one that we're talking about today is, we'll show you here, it is a part called the Type 1 Sear lever, and it's right here, and you're going to see it sits just above the Sear, and that Sear lever in the traditional design of the high power is floating. That means it is engaging or contacting the Sear every time the slide goes forward. We learned from reading in John Browning's patent application for the 1927 Grand Rendiment, his last patented design. We learned a lot of things. We learned that the BH advanced trigger subassembly and its trigger lever are much more like that we have produced is much more like John Browning's original trigger. One of the other things that we learned is within this patent application, John Browning talks about the importance of the Sear not being contacted by the Sear lever before its time, and his design did not have that. In Leon Hubert's world at FN, when he designed the Mark III advancements for the high power, he added a spring under the Sear lever so it no longer floats. And this engagement into the Sear lever that contacts the Sear cannot contact the Sear before its time. This is much more John Browning-esque design work. It also added an affirmative mechanical drop safety of the firing pin, which you see right here, so that in the event of a muzzle drop, the firing pin cannot continue going forward and meet the primer if there's one in the barrel. So this created the positively positioned Sear lever. Of course, the implications of a floating Sear lever, and that is this design that you see right here, the implications of a floating Sear lever are that if the Sear is not stable enough, the way the Sear would be not stable enough would be if this Sear spring is not strong enough in order to keep the Sear in place despite the impact of the Sear lever every time the slide comes forward. And when it's not, these things can fire upon loading. In other words, you rack the slide goes forward and pow. Or you can get what some people call double taps. I call it full auto function, but it's unpredictable full auto function because you don't know if it's going to be a magazine dump or if it's just 2 or if it's 3. It's riding the edge, so to say. So what we have done, and this is a Léon Hubert design, and this is a product of Léon Hubert joining us as our Chief Weapons and Modifications Designer, and the new Sear lever looks like this. These are produced, they've been tested. And they sit today in Belgium awaiting an export permit, and this is an imminent new product for BHSpringSolutions. What you can see here we've done is we've added a spring provision inside the Sear lever, so the spring is there and positively positions this Sear lever. Probably we're going to call this a Type 1 safety Sear lever with spring for high power pistols, and it's for the older ones and most of the clones. It's going to add only about 1/8 of a pound to your trigger pull break weight, which of course that's nothing. So this is what has been advanced at BHSpringSolutions in late 2020 and into 2021, and this is going to resolve a real design question mark in the original high power pistols, and for a lot of these older high power pistols. Once you understand how this floating Sear lever was expected to work and how the Sear was expected to stay in place despite being contacted every time the slide comes forward, obviously before its time, this is a safety upgrade in your older high powers that is, in our minds, essential. If for nothing else, the peace of mind value of this is for me, just much more than the investment involved in the couple minutes it takes to install. Thanks for watching High Power University. I'm Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com.